Hey everyone, and welcome to a new series that I'm doing, a Let's Play. Since the internet around my area has gotten pretty bad, I can't stream anymore. So we're going back to Let's Plays. So today we're starting with Graveyard Keeper, which is a simulation game where you, or me, the player, becomes a Graveyard Keeper. I hope you guys enjoy, leave a comment, subscribe, and let's go! Our journey starts in the real world. I was doing some groceries, and on the way home, I got hit by a car. Next thing I knew, I was in this weird place where there was this weird person telling me that a new page of my life is now starting. I told him I need to get home. Your new home is a graveyard. You are now a graveyard keeper. He then told me in order to get home, I need to be a good graveyard keeper and that I should dig up Gary since he will be the one to explain everything to me. After that weird dream ended, I am now here. And I gotta say, I do love the pixel art. It makes it feel more cozy. I do need to get home. So let's go out and dig out Gary. I'm gonna guess Gary is a zombie. Holy sard, I'm a skull. It seems our friend Gary can't exactly remember everything. I don't blame him since he's a skull. Skulls usually don't have anything inside of them. I then met a donkey. The donkey was the one delivering me the dead bodies. To my surprise, the donkey can actually talk, and I can understand him. He then rambled on about how he hates capitalism and might even be a communist, since he did call me comrade. After our little chat, the donkey, who I'm now going to call Eddie, ran over the dead body and left. Gary then showed up and told me to pick up the corpse and take it to the morgue, where I can perform an autopsy. Gary then told me to remove the flesh. Upon removing the flesh, I learned how to create a burger, a sandwich, and baked meat, which is disgusting considering this is a human body. Gary then told me that I'll get used to it. After that disgusting autopsy, I took the corpse to the graveyard and buried it. After burying the body, it gave me a burial certificate. After talking to my alcoholic friend, another character showed up, the bishop, whom Gary said was my boss. The bishop then explained that the burial certificate can be exchanged for money in the village. He also added that he can promote me if I fix the graveyard. And by fixing, I think he means to make it look not ugly. If the overall quality of the graveyard has reached 5, he will then promote me. Currently our quality is -29, but we're gonna be working on that. In the chest nearby, I found some equipment left by the previous keeper. I removed some dead bushes in the graveyard and started exploring. Heading straight east, I found a wheat farm in a village called The Village. I went inside the Dead Horse Tavern and talked to the bartender, Radrick. So he's the one who's going to buy the burial certificate, if he has money. I can also sell him the sus meat that I have, but only if it has a royal stamp. According to him, I can make a request for this royal stamp or acquire one through this person called Snake. I just need to ask Miss Charm about Snake. After our short discussion, he then asked me to deliver a letter to the village's blacksmith, Cresvold. I tried talking to the other people in the tavern, but all of them seemed unfriendly except for Miss Chain. I went back home forgetting to go to the blacksmith, and on the way home I saw Gary. After talking to him, I learned another skill called gathering. I also learned how to make bread. I went inside the cellar in my house, and then this person showed up. I scavenged the cellar for any remaining loot left by the previous keeper and also removed all of the broken barrels around. I went to bed and restored the blue bar at the top left. Yung pala yung energy ko. Okay, gets. Waking up, I met Yorick the Ghost. He told me all about this annoying guy in the graveyard and asked me to remove his dead body. He gave me a license, and I did not know that you need licenses to dig up dead bodies. The more you know, I guess. Here I am again, on brand, not listening. I exhumed the wrong body and threw it in the river. Bye-bye. Of course, Gary saw me and told me to just burn them. I went back to the graveyard and tried fixing it a little bit, but after a few fixes, materials were short. The next morning, Yorick showed up, all happy and joyful. Kung tuwa ka, mali na may tinanggal ko. He then explained that this symbol represents sins, and this symbol represents good deeds. I can remove sins by removing certain body parts from the corpse, but I also risk removing the good deeds. Adding decorations to the graves improves the quality of the graveyard, but in order to do so, I need to have both good deeds and decorations to be in the same line. If I have a decoration and a sin on the same line, that does not count. Knowing all of this, I realized the first thing that I needed to do is collect materials. So I started digging, chopping, and mining. I also learned new technologies along the way. I added this sawhorse, and another dead body showed up. After a few days of collecting materials, Gary showed up all nervous. He told me that an inquisitor is on Witch Hill. So before leaving to check out this Inquisitor, I added this chopping spot. Me not knowing where this hill was, I just wandered aimlessly. I went north and I saw this path. I assumed this was Witch Hill and that the Inquisitor was beyond that blockage. Since I did not have any materials to clear the blockage, I let it be and just continued collecting materials. On the way back, I collected some honey and berries which can be eaten for some energy. While collecting materials, my shovel broke, so I tried fixing it in the grindstone, but realized that I need a whetstone to fix it. Clueless on where to find a whetstone, I went to the village. I handed Cresvelt his letter and just like everybody else, asked me to do a favor for him. He asked me to kill some slimes and in return gave me an energy potion, a broken sword, and a whetstone. I fixed the broken sword and went off to slay some slimes. Since I did his job for him, we two are now friends. So I asked him where to find some iron ore. While also on the village, I met Rosa, the shepherd, and Tress. The next day, I added a carpenter's workbench and a furnace in my yard. And after collecting some materials, it was already nighttime and some hostile bats showed up. Luckily for me, I now have a sword and was able to slay them. As I was collecting materials, I noticed that I can move large objects without actually picking them up. So I decided to test something out. Kaya ko itong itulak kahit may buhat ako? Kaya nga! Surprisingly, it actually worked. I can't believe I'm still trying to find ways to optimize my time. Halatang kulang sa oras, kakagatcha. The next day, I went back to the tavern where I met Miss Charm. Wadalaboo, dadidabubap. I tried talking to her, but she gave me a response that I was actually expecting. Come back when you have more faith in yourself. Grabe, pati sa laro ayaw ko kausapin. Well, at least di ako tinawanan. After that embarrassing interaction, this guy is now willing to talk to me. He's a poet and needs paper and ink. Ayan na, may paper and ink ka sa mesa. Heading south of the village was the way to the town, which was blocked unless I have a town pass. I went back home and tried exploring the swamp behind my house. I found some iron ore and broke my pickaxe collecting some. The next morning I fixed the pickaxe, melted some iron and another body showed up. I went to the morgue and gave Gary the beer. According to Gary, I can use a portal on Witch Hill. Of course, the portal is closed, so I need to figure out how to open it. He also added that the astrologer may have some info. The next day, I went to the village and finally sold the burial certificate. Exploring a bit more, I met this woodcutter who needed an iron axe. Another body showed up, so I quickly handled it. I used some of my money to purchase some simple iron parts from the blacksmith, and I used those to make a wooden anvil. I continued my exploration by clearing this blockade, but there was no Inquisitor to be found. Maybe this place is not the Witch Hill. But nevertheless, I continued exploring until I found the quarry. In the quarry, I fixed this broken crafting table and found a cabin in the woods. I also found this mine, but I can't seem to enter it since it's filled with toxic gas. And according to my character, I need to find someone who doesn't breathe. So I went back and rechecked what I needed. So I need to craft a wooden repair kit and a stone repair kit. But the stone repair kit needed clay, which I don't know how to get. So I tried a different approach. Looking at my technology tab, I saw theology and learned how to make simple gravestones. So I went to work, creating some wooden grave fences and gravestones. While working, I also used some skill points to learn how to make a trunk, how to make a place to plant berries and apples. Fixing the graveyard took a lot of sleeping and working, so I had to resort to another way of collecting energy. I cooked the meat and used it for energy. Kadiri. Shit, not enough energy. Kakainin ko ba to? Yaman na nga, 18 energy naman eh. I finally managed to reach quality 2, and as if right on cue, another body showed up. And with that, I have now reached quality 5. While waiting for the bishop to show up, I went to the wheat farm and talked to the farmer, who can sell me some seeds for farming. I also met Cory, Tress's brother. I met this gypsy, and also found a path that leads to Mountain Fort. I bought myself a recipe for pies from Miss Chain and headed home. On my way home, I finally saw the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor talked to me and asked to be my friend, to which I said yes. He told me to come back here same day next week because he was going to give me a task. I went back to the graveyard and continued to fix it. I also fixed this corpse hatch so that Eddie won't just lay the body on the ground. Now that the day has come, I spoke to the beautiful and blessed bishop. He promoted me and the church was now open. Now I can do sermons. He didn't tell me to just say whatever I want, so I started my first sermon by saying, "May the force be with you, Mpota." I headed down to the church basement and cleared some of the broken bookshelves. I also found this study table, but I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with it, so I just went home and catch some Z's. I woke up and there was this stranger in my house. He told me he was not a thief and that he was a marquis and needed my help. They needed food, water, and shelter, and in exchange would give me money for it, so I agreed to do it. I also met this deaf old man named Master Alaric. He was the previous Inquisitor, and he wanted to talk to me. He asked me about an ancient god, but I denied of knowing such things. After that, I left and returned home. And I guess this is a good place to end it. Thank you very much for watching. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!